I'm back, and you're listening to the Critical Hour on Radio Sputnik. I'm Wilmer Leon. Black Agenda Report has a great interview entitled Eritrea's Continuing Struggle Against U.S. Interference. And in this interview, Margaret Kimberley and her guest discuss Eritrea's continued struggle for sovereignty in the wake of punishing sanctions and the continued effort to destabilize the nation. For insight into this, let's turn to my next guest. He's an Eritrean journalist, geopolitical analyst, and founding member and senior fellow of the Asmara-based Peace Building Center for the Horn of Africa, Elias Amare.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. So Eritrea is facing very debilitating sanctions by the United States. And the question is why, since Eritrea fought and won its sovereignty, but the U.S. continues to try to impose its will on the country? Why?
Why? Because Eritrea wants to chart its own independent political line and economic development path. Believes strongly on self-reliance. It's a progressive country that adheres to social justice issues. And it believes also that the Horn of Africa, which has been bedeviled by decades of vicious cycles of conflicts and violence, has to come to peace in an era of cooperation and integration be ushered in. But the global hegemon, the United States government, does not like this. It wants to control this strategic region, the Horn of Africa, and the Red Sea waterways, through which, over 10% of global oil flows. Eritrea is in control of the southern part of the Red Sea, in particular the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. So that location makes Eritrea, as my good old friend, the late and great Glenn Ford used to say, whenever you are designated as a strategic location, that means you are in the crosshair of the global hegemon. So that's Eritrea, for all these reasons, has been sanctioned. But directly in the recent war in Ethiopia, the northern Tigray region, the TPLF, which was a proxy client regime of the United States for almost three decades, was ousted from power in 2018 through popular protests. And the new coming Ethiopian government finally made peace with Eritrea, and that peace was expanded to Somalia. So the TPLF client ethnofascist minority junta was pushed to instigate another vicious cycle of conflict against Ethiopia and Eritrea. And because the two governments collaborated to crush this, violent minority secessionist regime in the northern part of Ethiopia called Tigray, the U.S. did not like this. It tried to, continue the crisis, enlarge the crisis for 2 years. Finally, the TPLF was defeated and forced to sign cessation of hostilities agreement with the Ethiopian government. Now, Eritrea was punished for defending itself because, it saw the danger of the conflict, the conflagration expanding through the Horn of Africa region, a very volatile region, and cooperated with the Ethiopian government to contain the TPLF. This was not to the liking of the United States, and thus Eritrea was put once again under the baby killer sanctions, as I prefer to call them.
I say to the audience all the time when we're having these types of conversations, I suggest that people take a look at a map, because when you take a look at a map, you get an opportunity to understand the relationship between other things, such as you mentioned the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. On the other side from Eritrea of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait is the country of Yemen, and it's not an accident that there's also a war going on in Yemen, because right above Yemen is Saudi Arabia. So the oil from Saudi Arabia flows from the Red Sea through the Bab el-Mandab Strait to the Gulf of Aden. And the United States, and if I'm wrong here, sir, please correct me, the United States cannot imagine an independent government of Eritrea on one side of the strait and an independent government in Yemen on the other side of the strait, because then the United States loses control of that very important waterway. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it's fair to say. And the United States also has its largest military base in Africa, in the tiny city-state of Djibouti, right by that choke point, Bab el-Mandeb. Yes. To the southeast of Eritrea and to the east of Ethiopia. So, at Camp Lemonnier, there are over 4,500 U.S. soldiers expanding AFRICOM, the Africa Command, and that region being vital, resource of oil coming from the Gulf of the Arabian Peninsula, and you've cited Yemen. The conflict in Yemen also had somewhat to do with the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which now has, by the way, been resolved through mediation by the Chinese. And so this is increasingly worrying the United States. The United States worrying, of course, global rivalry with China. China is, investing major investment in that region. And so for this reason, Eritrea's independent stance is not to the liking of the U.S. government, and thus it has been put under this, killer sanctions.
There are a number of Eritrean festivals that have been taking place around the world. There was a festival in Sweden, a festival in Toronto, and individuals that are coming to the festival, it's being reported that they're coming under attack. Germany, Sweden, Canada. What's going on here with Eritreans being attacked at these festivals?
Well, a small group of disruptors, really recruits of the ethnofascist TPLF from Tigray, which has, as I mentioned earlier, lost the recent war, have still not reconciled themselves to the newly emerging peace in the region. And thus, they blame Eritrea for the defeat of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which is an ethnofascist secessionist group, right-wing. And so if you examine these behaviors of this thuggish group in Gießen, Germany, London, UK, Stockholm, Sweden, Toronto, Canada, and also Seattle, Tacoma here in the United States, they're not unlike the brown shirts of, Mussolini, fascists, or stormtroopers of Hitler. These are right-wing groups that want to intimidate the peaceful gathering of, Eritreans celebrating their cultural heritage, their unity, networking among themselves. These festivals have been going on for the last 45 years throughout the world. And this, by the way, Eritrean diaspora is significant when you compare it to the population base of Eritrea, which is 5 million. Some would say about, 750,000 of Eritreans are in the diaspora. So that linkage with their homeland is very vital for them. And these festivals are a form of, the strength, the ties that bind to the homeland, to Africa, to our motherland, Eritrea. And they want to disrupt this. That's what we've witnessed. And this pattern seems to be globally coordinated.
In fact, to that point, let me read a headline, because we've got about 3 minutes left. Let me read a headline and then have you explain what's wrong with the headline. This is from ABC News. Eritrea's repressive government criticizes exiles who attack overseas festivals as asylum scum. Eritrea, one of the world's most repressive countries, is marking 30 years of independence at these festivals in Europe and North America, and they're been attacked by anti-government exiles. The story makes it appear as though it's the quote unquote repressive government and that is attacking these innocent exiles.
This is typical propaganda ploy of inverting the victim and the aggressor. As I said, I just came back from the Seattle Eritrean Festival, and it was peaceful. Independent journalists were there witnessing this. Margaret Kimberly from Black Agenda Report, and Garrison also from Pacifica News and Black Agenda Report, Eugene Perrier of the Breakthrough News. And the disruptors were a tiny minority, and they did violate. The organizers had the permit, the private security, and the permit from the city of Tacoma, and everything was peaceful. Yet the media inverts the victim and the aggressor. The aggressors, the thuggish, violent attackers become victims, and that's what I can say about this headline. But the truth is to the contrary. Thousands of people peacefully gathered. These are peaceful citizens of the United States. They are tax-paying citizens, hardworking people, celebrating their cultural heritage, networking among themselves, music concerts, professional associations, giving lectures and seminars, doing fundraising to help the people back home. For example, at the Seattle Festival, a continuation of fundraising for cancer treatment in Eritrea to buy equipment for cancer treatment was going on. And these, the thuggish disruptors were extremely violent and injured several people. That is, in a nutshell, what has been happening globally.
And 15 seconds. Is there any indication that the United States is behind any of these disruptors?
Well, I must say that this is too sophisticated an operation for these thuggish disruptors. There seems to be global coordination. There is media coordination also spinning it, and I can say that there are bigger hands and small group of disruptors.
Elias Amare, thank you so much for your time. Greatly appreciate it. Look forward to having you back.
Dr. Leon, thank you. I always listen to the Critical Hour and learn a great deal from your program. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. We look forward to having you back. Folks, you've been listening to the Critical Hour here on Radio Sputnik. Thank you for allowing my voice into your space, and I hope you were informed and enlightened. And I look forward to talking with you all right here tomorrow on Radio Sputnik. Be safe. Peace and blessings. I'm out.